So, good morning, folks. Just about to leave Tassie Tiger Lodge and head out bush for the day and get a few more cameras out. Got an area where we've been having a few interesting audio recordings, so we're going to head out there, me and Maisie. Here she is, ready to rock and roll. And we're going to head out there for the day and hopefully get all these cameras out and see if we find a little bit of evidence while we're there. So we'll keep you posted through the day. So welcome back. Me and May are out at our spot now. I've been trying to come up with some novel ways of trying to keep people motivated and interested in what we're doing, and I thought that maybe I could start to ring up a few of the witnesses that have come forward with their information over the years and get them to recount their stories to me, record that as an interview over the phone, and then share it with you all. So I've managed to get a few underway. So the first one we're going to take you into is a lady by the name of Janice. She lives out at Gawler in Adelaide in South Australia. Back in the 1960s, when she was a young mum and wife, she was working with her husband on a station out on the Nullarbor, and she had an interesting experience when they were arriving at the station one evening late in the afternoon. So I'm going to let you let her tell you all about it, and yeah, sit back and enjoy the first one of these interviews. I hope you get something from it, and we'll see if we can't find a couple more for you. Cheers.
We were living at Tarcoola. My ex-husband was a teacher there, and station owner, or property owner of, I think it was Bulgunya Station, offered to take him to Woomera where the meeting was, and the two young children and myself, we stayed at the station. But we had to get there first from Tarcoola, and when we just got there, we'd gone through one fence gate, and we'd just pulled in at the homestead, and I happened to look back and I saw the thylacine trotting along the fence line.
Okay, so you weren't far from the actual homestead itself?
No, and it's the one that I never said anything, apart from the fact that I thought people would think I was a bit silly.
Sure.
I thought that if the station people knew about it, well, they didn't bother them. But I just didn't tell anyone. I didn't want anything to happen to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it does. I mean, it's such an unusual thing. And you knew what it was when you saw it straight away, sort of thing, or?
Yeah, well, yes, because of the markings.
Yeah, okay. And you'd seen them before in books and what have you?
Yeah. The only thing is that it wasn't the goldy colour. It was sort of silvery.
Okay, so it was more of a grey colour with black stripes.
Or dark stripes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I know it's probably asking a bit, but roughly how big was it? Can you recall? Was it as halfway up the fence post, or?
No. Its gait was sort of like a trot. I suppose it could have been dingo size.
Yep, okay. Just an average sort of dog size.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
And it didn't look threatened or fussed or anything. I didn't see where it came from or where it went. I just saw it trotting along the fence line.
Okay. How far from it in metres do you think you would have been roughly?
Oh, heck. Probably 50.
Yep. Was it broad daylight, middle of the day sort of thing?
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon, yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's excellent. It's just really good to hear these stories and to hear people's personal descriptions of what they saw on the time, at the day,
Oh,
because
terrific.
there's so many people that recall the same sorts of things. It's hilarious, There's so much in common with a lot of the sightings that there really is something in it all.
Yeah, and there definitely are some still alive in Tasmania?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, there is. We've had probably about 5 or 6 sightings in Tassie over the last, say, year and a half.
That's all right, yeah.
So that's not too bad. We seem to, when I was in South Australia, I only moved back here in July last year. But when I was in South Australia, we were getting colossal amounts of sightings in South Australia, like 25, 30 a year, no worries. So,
Really?
yeah, there was plenty of sightings in South Australia. It's huge over there, it really is. So that's always very reassuring, I suppose, and comforting in some ways.
Yeah. But what about, the way they go getting rid of the dingoes? I don't think they were doing as much damage as, they're supposed to have done. It's the mixed breed dogs that are wild that do all the damage.
Well, yeah, I think you need to have a predator in the ecosystem, but how many is always the delicate question. How many stock losses do you need? There's always less feral cats in areas where there's dingoes, and there's always more biodiversity in these areas where there's dingoes. So, it's strange. They play an interesting part.
Well, they would have had their own type before White Man and his sheep and cattle arrived. He would have had his own been able to catch his own wild food.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they bothered the White Man's animals as much as it was thought. I think it was the other dogs that had got away and,
that were causing a lot of the problems, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was definitely the case in Tasmania when they had the bounty on the thylacine. That was very trumped up.
Yeah.
But, I have spoken to a few people who have trapped them on the mainland in South Australia and known what they were back in the 50s.
What did they do with them?
Oh, they dispatched them because they were doggers. They were out there doing dingo control, basically, for the pastoralists. It's a classic example of people panicking when they realise what they've got and they don't want to get in trouble, so they bury it. So I know of one property in New South Wales where that's happened twice. In the last 40 years, twice that's happened, and they've buried the evidence both times. So that's pretty tragic. But anyway, lovely to talk to you, and stay safe and keep well, and hopefully we'll get to chat again soon.
Okay, doke.
All right.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks a lot, Janice. Bye-bye. Take care. They're all warning each other. There's a man and a dog approaching. This is the sort of place where magic happens. Getting in here. Can be a bit of a rabbit warren sometimes. It's a bit like going down the rabbit hole. Anyway, there's our patch that we're interested in over there, just over the other side of this gully. There's some old growth forest straight through there on the other side, going straight up another gully up the mountain. Not going to mention the name of the mountain for obvious reasons, but yeah, this is a interesting place. We've got that old stretch of old growth coming straight off the mountain down into this gully and heading out west from here, where we've been hearing the noises. So I think we're in the right area. Just got to be here at the right time. See if they come past our cameras. But yeah, a bit of a firewood heap here that people have been using, which is nice to see. Not going to waste and rotten. Wanting to be used for good firewood. And they're right, pup. So here we are with cameras 16 to 21. They're all ready to go now. They're just got to be placed. We'll get them baited up. Got this nice little creek running from the mountain all the way out through this gully here. And this is where we've been hearing noises, I think. Might have been further up there. But we're looking like we're on the money here, don't you reckon, pup? Plenty of black yellow-tailed cockies hanging around talking to us. Maya's not too concerned by it all. But she's happily waiting for a bit of bacon or something that she might get for all this process. So we've got our last 15 of the first 30 cameras out. And they're all set up in the one gully where we've been hearing some noises. So that's all good. So you've had a listen to the first interview. Here's the second interview. This one is from the Murray Mallee in South Australia from about 4 years ago. By a fellow by the name of Ash. He's also in Tagoa in the Facebook group. But I've had cameras on his property. There was him and another fellow who had the sighting originally. So have a listen, see what you think. It's a pretty good story. Ash had a encounter anyway in April 2016. He's out in the Murray Mallee, which is where John and Mark and Dave have been recently, out on their trip to Red Banks out past Burra. But Ash's place is a bit further south from there. But anyway, Ash, how you doing, mate? All right?
Good, mate. Good.
Your encounter, you've had a couple of others since that one too, I believe, haven't you?
I've had one in Angaston as well, coming out of Angaston.
Yep.
Just near Lindsay Park, bloody horse training thing there.
Oh yeah, by the river there.
Yeah. Yep.
What happened that time?
That time, that was a young male, I think, anyway, because its stripes were very prominent.
Yep.
And it just dashed out in front of me, then doubled back through the grapevines. So, yeah, very skittish, it was a younger one, had no mange. Its stripes were very prominent, and more of a tanny colour than a dark brown, that one.
Okay. And that was during the evening, was it, that one?
That was about 11:30 at night.
Okay.
That one there, but yeah, very skittish and very quick. Wasn't a mangy fox either.
Yeah, no, fair enough. You've done a bit of hunting.
Yes, I've done a lot of hunting. I made a difference between a fox and a fox, so yeah, definitely.
And tell us a bit more about your other sighting anyway, your original sighting, because that was pretty detailed from memory.
Well, that was about the best sighting you could ever get. We were fixing the fence at my property, and we stopped just before sundown, an hour before sundown, so we could go for a ride on the quads. So my mate went one way, I went the other. He went one way because the dust of the quads was throwing up, so he couldn't follow behind me. So he went right round the border of the property, and I went left. So I couldn't find him, so I went for a little ride down the road, about 2 inches to my road, and then I came back up that road. And then as I hit my property along the road, I seen what was represented as I was seeing to me, which it was, a dog-like creature that was walking, and then as soon as it seen me, it started running. And when it started running, its tail stood still, and some distinguishing features with things like its backside was like a kangaroo sort of way, and its face was ugly. It was an ugly animal, really, like insect eyes sort of thing, and little ears like a corgi. That's the only way I can really describe it, like a corgi's ears.
Yep.
But as soon as it seen me, it done the bolt. So I chased it into the mallee there, and man, it just ran away as fast as it could. It did not want to get seen. It did not want to be known. So yeah, but I've seen it it came from my side from right to left within about 25, 30 metres of me. Yeah, 25 metres, and then I caught up to it to about 5 metres, and then it went through the bush and I couldn't find it. But it was gone. It was gone, like nothing I'd ever seen before. Yeah, it was just amazing, really. I thought at first we were looking for pictures of African wild dogs or something like that, because we thought it had been an escaped dog from Monato.
Oh, okay.
And then my neighbour said, no, it's a fire thing, that's what you're saying. And we went, oh, yeah, sure, mate, sure. And then I've looked through the internet, and then I found a female. But most of the pictures I could see were of male thylacines, and then I found a female one, and it was exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Okay, so the shape of the head being a bit different between the male and the female, is that what was leading you to that conclusion?
The shape of the head a little bit, and from what I've sort of seen, maybe the females don't have such prominent stripes, but its fur was all matted, that one. It was like, had a matted, like a mangy fur.
Okay.
So, like a dog that hasn't been brushed, basically.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Messy.
The thing that really sort of stick out in my mind is the shape of its arm, basically. The shape of the back end of the animal.
Yep.
Was almost like a kangaroo, but its legs weren't as bent as much as a kangaroo.
Yeah.
And the way it ran, it was like a skipping sort of run, or it wasn't a dog sort of run. It was more of I can't even explain what it ran like. More of a hopping run. The tail stood still as it ran. The tail was still, and like it was using its tail as balance, sort of thing. But yeah, I got a real good look at it, and it's definitely thylacine. There's no doubt about it. And from the reports I've had from the area, it's been seen a few times around there.
So your neighbour pointing out to you that you'd seen a thylacine, was that sort of indicative that he might have seen one as well?
Well, no, just the way we described it to him, he just said thylacine straight away, and we all went, oh yeah, right now it's extinct and that, you know. We chopped it off, really.
Yep.
But into doing a bit of investigations, man, that's the only animal I've seen on the internet that looked anything like it, and I'm positive it was one. Like the local postmaster's 99, he's seen it 3 times.
Yeah, right. I did actually speak to him and his wife. His wife had seen one out at Virginia in the 1980s when she first migrated to Australia.
Wouldn't surprise me. There was one in Malala not too long ago.
Yeah. There's been a couple of sightings at Malala. One was a truck driver and another one was a young girl on a property in the back of a ute or something.
Yeah, and that's after seeing the one in Angaston, it makes me think there's a family of them around there somewhere.
Yeah, well, you know, with the other sightings we've had, there's an electricity trust workers sighting near Swan Reach back in the 1970s, I think. And then I've got a few other independent witnesses from the area in the 60s and also in the last few years as well on the Blanchetown Road, north of you sort of thing. Yeah, there's quite a few sightings. I could probably pin together at least a dozen sightings over the area. And, you know, to 100 k's north of there, you've got Tiger Plains. Tiger Plains Road and Tiger Plains Station, and, you know, there's a little bit of history there.
Since seeing that one, I've sort of asked other people, and another friend of mine, he's got a sheet metal company, him and his brother have got a shack at Blanchetown.
Yep.
And they were coming back one night about 3:30 in the morning in Annandale, which is just out of Blanchetown.
Yeah, I know where it is.
They've seen one as well.
Yep.
And also there's ladies at the Cambrai shops, which is, they were coming home from darts one night, they've seen one too. And even other friends of mine up towards Swan Reach, about 17 k's up the road, she woke up one morning and there was one at a chicken coop.
Yeah, right, at Swan Reach.
Well, they're about 7-8 k's away from Swan Reach, but it's 17 k's away from me.
Are they on the same side of the river as you?
Same side as the river as well, yeah.
Yeah, well, another chap I know who's a hunter who used to camp on a property about 30 k's east of your property back in the 60s. He saw one out there when he was a little kid back in about 1968.
Yeah, so there's definitely a family of them there. And,
Yep.
after seeing one at Anguston, I'm sure there's a family of them there.
Yeah, I reckon they take cover in the wombat warrens myself.
Oh, that would be a perfect place for them to go, and even coming down like Sedan Hill and a lot of those hills between Sanditon and Sedan, even
some of those gullies.
Yeah, right up towards Truro and that. All those hills are just blanketed with caves, little caves and bends and shit that they can do.
There's a few old mines up there too, I believe.
Yeah, and you've also got, you've got a lot of people that own properties up there, but you ask them how many times they go to their property, they might go, I go to my property probably once every month.
Yep.
And I said, right, out of that once every month, how many times do you drive around at night? And 9 out of 10 of them say, never.
Yep. They wouldn't know what's out there.
Yeah, so really, if you don't do a lot of driving at night, you very rarely to see one. The one I seen on my property was just getting dark.
Yeah. Yeah, he was probably just waking up.
Yeah, just waking up and, going through. And have heard recently a few, yip sort of sounds going on. But
did you hear the recordings that we got in Tassie the other week?
Very like that, yeah. Very like that.
Excellent.
That's what I'm going on. So, yeah, I dare say, and past my block, there's such a big bush there.
Yeah, all the way out to the pipeline.
Yeah, all the way out to the pipeline. There's that big bush out that way that even, again, with the landowners, I've asked them, how much of your property have you really explored?
Yeah.
And some of them go, probably 10%, 20%, which, is a lot that they never go to. They might go to their properties and stay around the house or whatever.
Yeah, they do. They usually stick to the perimeter and stuff, doing the fencing and bits and pieces.
Yeah, I'm always on the hunt, mate. I'm always looking.
You had much rain out in the Mallee at all yet, or is it still particularly dry?
Nothing. It's desert.
Yeah.
Bowl out there at the moment. It's probably the brownest I've seen it in 10 years. So.
Oh, fingers crossed you get a bit of rain this year, mate.
Yeah, well, we're about due for the dams to fill, so hopefully they do.
So you've just heard Ash's story about his sighting, which I thought was pretty interesting and good of him to recount it with us after all these years. And last but not least, we've got a real special story here for you. And this is from Nathan Rennie. Nathan Rennie is not only Australian but a world champion mountain bike rider. And he and two of his mates who were doing a charity ride for cancer were in South Australia only a couple of years ago. I think it was called From Salt to the Snow, and they rode from Lake Eyre, the lowest point in Australia, to Kosciuszko, which is the highest point in Australia, to raise some money for cancer research. One of the guys involved was actually quite sick, and it was a real personal thing for the guys. But I spoke to them only the day after they'd had their sighting, and it was pretty interesting. They were pretty pumped up when I chatted to them, so have a listen and see what you think. But thanks for tuning in. It's been a real pleasure. Nathan, it's good to be chatting to you. I know it's been a couple of years now. Firstly, you're a Australian champion mountain bike rider, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got many other credentials as well. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
What else do you do, mate?
Where do we start? But then, like world champion and distance jump record holder, and I'm in the Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah.
With Australian mountain biking and around the world as well. So,
you are one serious mountain biker.
Yeah, I've been doing it for like 20 years sort of thing. So
that's fantastic, mate. Now, when you had your thylacine experience, you were actually doing a charity ride at that point, weren't you?
That's right, yeah. We were out doing a charity ride for rare cancers. One of my buddies, Paul Begg, was on the ride with us, and another one of my friends was on the ride as well. He survives cancer as well, and we decided to ride from the smallest place in the world, which is Lake Eyre, to the highest place in the world, which is Salt to Snow, which is about 2,500 k's.
Yep.
It was a 21-day trip.
It's a huge ride. So this journey you were doing from Lake Eyre through the Flinders Ranges to the Snowy Mountains somewhere, I'm guessing, in Victoria or New South Wales?
Yeah, we made it all the way to Mount Kosciuszko.
Mount Kosciuszko. The lowest point to the highest point.
Yep, Salt to Snow.
Yep.
So the lowest point to the highest point.
Fantastic. Now, when you were going through the Flinders Ranges, when I first spoke to you, it was pretty exciting actually, because I was out bush, not a lot different than what I am now. The three of you guys rang me that I think it was the evening of the sighting, and you were all pretty well peaking. There was a fair amount of adrenaline going. So
yeah.
Tell us again how it all rolled that day. I remember it was roughly in the middle of the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of like morning time, and so we head off out of a small town starting with an O. It was like Orroroo or something.
Orroroo?
Yeah, but yeah, like we were just like waking ourselves up in the swag, and we kept going and started riding on the road like we'd seen everything basically, which is, goats, kangaroos, cats, dingoes, dogs, all that sort of stuff, and we're all pretty worldly as well, so we know what we're doing, and we know what we're seeing, and obviously a lot of roadkill and stuff like that. So we're pretty used to it by then, and then this creature appeared from our left, walking through the salt bush, and it started walking towards us, and I did the process of elimination basically.
Yeah.
So like, okay, well, what is this? And then it was going. It's like, it's not a dingo, it's not anything like that. And then walking towards us, then it crossed the road in front of us, which was about 30 metres away from the guest, and then ditched off into the other side of the road after I saw it cross the road, and I was like, well, what am I seeing, sort of thing, and then Paul, who was about 5 metres ahead of me, said, did you see that? And I said, yeah, I saw that. I thought that was a Tasmanian tiger. And he was like, no, that's a thylacine. And I was like, because I didn't know what a thylacine was.
Yeah.
And then he's like, that's a thylacine. And then Matt came up behind me and was like, oh, did you see that? And I was like, well, I did see that, but what the f*** was it? And so, so we just ditched our bikes and tried to find this thing, but then, to be honest, I didn't really want to find it because it looked that gnarly that I didn't. I was like, okay, let's
not get too close. Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to see this thing really, and then the thought did cross my mind that maybe we did see something, but yeah, after a little bit of deliberation between us, it was obvious that that's what we saw. I mean, we're not stupid.
Sure.
It was right in front of us.
How many metres are we saying here? Probably 20, 30 metres?
Well, at the end of it, when it ducked off to the side of the road, on the other side of the road, it was probably 10 metres. Yeah, and we had a very clear image of what we did. We even went to the extent of, Matt was a graphic designer, basically.
Yep.
And so he was a little bit behind us. And so, he was like, okay, do not tell me what you saw. I'm going to write what I saw, and then I'm going to draw it, and then we look up some pictures and see if it matches. And so the first couple of pictures that I looked up, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, oh, maybe it didn't see one, maybe this one. And then I saw a picture which pretty much was exactly the same as what he showed me with his little sketch. And I was like, okay, yeah, we saw it. Yeah, it was there, and it even went to the roadkill, like on the outside of the road, and all the crows like pissed off, basically. Them be knowing that that's the head of the food chain, basically. So
Yeah.
and so it just pissed off, and like we just, mate, it was right in front of our eyes. We saw it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And when you say it was a bit gnarly looking, it was a reasonable size, I take it?
Yeah, like a big, like smaller than a German Shepherd, but then bigger than a what do you call it? Like a blue cattle dog, like a big blue cattle dog.
Yeah, like a larger version of a bluey.
Yeah, a larger version of a bluey, and so like the tail was up in the air, and the tail was larger than what it was at the peak of the tail as well. So it was small, then like coming up into a point as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and then
you clearly saw stripes?
I didn't clearly see stripes exactly, but the front of the tiger, like the nose was all front, basically. So
you were looking at front on most of the time. You weren't square onto it.
Well, it did like a 90 on us. And so it was coming towards us, and then it crossed the road, and then that's when I got to see like the hind and everything. So like the back was then like a hind, and then it went into the tail. And so the tail was wide, and then it went up to a peak.
Sure.
And so the back of the tiger was a different colour to the front of the tiger, and so that's what kind of like made me think a little bit. And like there was blotches of like stripes, but it
wasn't
like,
defined
different.
Definitively. It was more blotchy.
It wasn't exactly defined, although like when I've done my own research, like the ones on the mainland don't have the major definitive lines. Only the ones in Tasmania do, because they like hang out in the grass basically, because that's their like camouflage kind of thing. And so like what we saw, like it was definitely different from the front to the back, and it had like a hind on it, sort of thing.
So it was a darker coloration towards the rear end rather than being striped.
Exactly, yeah. But you could still sort of see the stripes in it, although like they weren't really. It was just like a different colour, sort of thing. Yeah. And
was the overall colour a fawn? Was it a brown? Was it a reddish colour? What was the overall colour of it?
Well, I would say that the the front of the tiger was like a sand colour, like an off brown, and then the back of the hind was a darker brown with some kind of stripes, but you couldn't really see them, sort of thing. And the thing was sort of running like a funny sort of like a canter, basically, like a canter.
Yeah, so it was a different kind of run. It wasn't a normal dog-like run.
No, it was a funny one. Yeah.
Can you remind me what time of the year was this roughly? Can you recall what month it was?
This was 2 years ago, roughly.
Yeah, it was 2018.
Yeah, 2018, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Even earlier.
Yep.
Like we tried to get up at like sunrise, sort of thing, and then we were just kind of sneaking along there, and then all of a sudden this thing just appeared. So.
Awesome. And have the other guys spoken about it much to you since, or it's just?
Yeah, we have spoken about it.
Yeah.
Just doing different sort of things, and we like Salt to Snow was basically our charity ride for Begsy, who's now become 6 again, and so we're still sort of like trying to get some
funds together to help him out.
Yeah, basically, but like we tried to keep this separate as much as we could.
Sure.
Because it was a completely different episode that we had.
Yeah, but it was part of the journey, I suppose.
Yeah, it was just part of the journey, and like it was just something that you see along the way, and we were just like blown away from it. And,
Well, you're part of an elite club, that's for sure.
yeah, we had so many critics. It was just like, oh no, they're all gone. Like even my daughter went to her school and said, oh, my dad saw a Tasmanian tiger, and her teacher said, oh no, they're extinct. and so like I've been going and picking her up from school every now and then, and like I want to go and tell this teacher.
Yeah, there was three of us who saw this thing, not just one person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives it a lot more credence, I tell you. When there's three witnesses in broad daylight like that, that's pretty significant at a short distance, 10, 20 metres, you know.
Yeah, it was so weird. I mean, like the thing was smarter than us. You could tell that it was smarter than us, but because we were on e-bikes and we were like kind of insignificant to them, then it just had no problem when it didn't hear us coming, kind of thing. And so then it just disappeared over the other side of the road, and then all the crows just like booked it out of there. They just flew away.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so like they knew, like crows are smart.
Yeah,
And so they knew that, like there was a predator in the mix, basically.
And it was the head honcho.
Yeah, yeah. like I said before, I mean, I don't even want to find that thing because it looked pretty gnarly when we were about like 10 minutes away from it.
Yeah, I often wonder if I end up encountering one up close, just how I'm going to handle that situation.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, like we all ditched our bikes like all at once, just like toss them across the road because it's pretty desolate, and then we just tried to find this thing, and like the only conclusion that we came to was the fact that there was like these pipelines underneath the road, and so we were looking that way across the road, and then it probably went back underneath the pipelines
and took off the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it pissed off and like hid or whatever sort of thing. So. Yeah.
It's an amazing story, mate. Thanks very much for recounting that for us. That's a really good sighting story. It's awesome one with, multiple witnesses and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, like to sort of close this off, I mean, like we wouldn't like bullshit ourselves, It's like there's no real point in doing that, and like we're all pretty worldly, and I'm pretty damn sure we saw a tile thing right to our eyes. Yeah.